It's been a year of working remotely. And as more people are getting vaccinated, the question of what a post-COVID workplace looks like is on people's minds. How long will we have to continue wearing a mask? Has our office purpose changed? Could we continue to work remotely? As eager as we may be to meet our colleagues back in the office, a year of working from home has taught us a lot of new things we never questioned. Do we really need a physical office to find belonging at work? Today, we'll dive deeper into all of this at Dear Workplace.
If you don't have to live in San Francisco to have a Silicon Valley job, imagine what that could open up.
A lot of companies are shedding their overhead. We have had multiple companies now, corporations, who are rethinking their real estate strategy.
I am very excited. I think that it's driven the biggest change in the way we work since personal computer. And I think it's really cool to think about how mobile and spread out work can be in the future.
I still remember that there were a lot of different ideas. So some of us actually said, hey, ideal office is that we don't need to have an office. Who cares? And this was again about 8 to 9 years ago right now.
Innovation is different hunches bumping into each other, right? And so you lose the ability for ideas to just bump into each other accidentally when you're not in the room together. You have to plan it and schedule a call, and creative thinking doesn't always happen that way.
So you're not going back to work in the traditional sense. The corner office is evolving. Why do you want to be in an office with, Bob who's baking fish in the microwave?
Everyone's like, oh, the office is dead. And no, that's not the case.
We're going to, I think with more intention, be able to hire and find talent wherever they are, right? That's one thing. And I think the future of working in an office is going to look very different.
Hi, welcome to Dear Workplace by Innovators Box, where I study trends, changes, and challenges with people at work. I'm your host, Monica Kang. And today, I study how our physical office purpose is changing. As long as I can remember, going to work meant going to an office. I never thought twice about my 2-hour commutes or moving across the country for a job to be at the office. I understood how there were some jobs that you could work from home, but I couldn't imagine how my work at the government, nonprofit, or businesses would permit me to telework indefinitely. I just haven't seen enough people working like that, nor job postings like that. Looking for a good remote job before the pandemic was rare, and it was understandable. From what I was used to experiencing at work, I wasn't sure how you could effectively work remotely. Even to get any project done, you'd hold a lot of meetings, need people's signatures, and coordinate a lot of details. Plus, what if I'm watching a movie and not working, right? It's hard to slack when I'm at the office where everyone sees me. And I'm not alone on this observation. Working remotely was rare or never considered in many industries before the pandemic. Only 1 in 5 say they work from home all or most of the time according to PEW research. Which is why over 80% of companies said they didn't have any proper remote policy or programs before the pandemic per MindEdge and Sky Learning. So, when we did go remote, many of us were surprised at how much we could actually get done online.
I like the balance that we've got now of online content that we can take in person when the time comes, or we can continue to do online. I don't know about you, but I've been amazed at how many meetings can be done over Zoom and be done really well. I've been in strategic planning meetings that have been great over Zoom and really vibrant and creative brainstorming. A monthly board meeting for a group I'm in, the Danville Historical Society. We've been doing that over Zoom. I started that because of the pandemic, but it goes really well. And I think we're going to have a higher chance of 100% attendance when no one has to drive to get there.
That's my friend Kendall Ratliff, Director of Programs at Middle Border Ford, a nonprofit on the mission to cultivate community engagement and effective leadership in order to create a stronger future for the Middle Border region in the city of Danville, Pittsylvania County, and Caswell County. Going to the office was important for her because all her programs used to be in person. Now, not only can she serve her community online, but she can also explore other possibilities while remote.
I hope we keep working from home. Everyone had to do it, and so many companies found out that it can be done. And I hope now that that infrastructure is here that it remains.
Why does this matter from a macro standpoint of view?
From a community development perspective, not just for Danville, but all over the United States and the world, I think keeping work from home or hybrid options could be so amazing for other small towns and for housing equality in bigger cities. If you don't have to live in San Francisco to have a Silicon Valley job, imagine what that could open up.
Opportunities, indeed. Great talent can be found anywhere, and great talent can work from anywhere. As Kendall said, the question shouldn't be, should we keep remote or not? But rather, how can we design a hybrid experience that works for all, employees and employers? This is not an easy decision. As PwC found in its research, employees wanted to return to the office, but more slowly than employers expected. At the same time, junior employees were looking forward to being back in the office more as they were seeking mentorship and peer interaction that they couldn't access when they started working remotely. So as an employer, what do? You start by really understanding what your people want and how you can create a workplace, not just a physical place, but an environment in which people can feel at home.
We made sure that we established a very strong culture from the very beginning. In that very same session, we spoke about how we envision the company that's going to be run. What are the elements of a good company? How do we create a good workspace? We actually spent a lot of time talking about this, and I still remember that there were a lot of different ideas. So some of us actually said, hey, ideal office is that we don't need to have an office. Like, who cares? And this was again about 8 to 9 years ago right now, because Open Minds is celebrating our 9th anniversary this year.
Meet my friend Jan Wong, a serial entrepreneur, online strategist, and youth advocate in Malaysia. Open Minds is one of the 7 companies he built since the age of 17. The marketing technology startup valuation has grown from 0 to millions in just 3 years, and now he has an active office in Kuala Lumpur and Hong Kong, helping hundreds of brands bridging the gap between marketing and technology. His business helps clients understand data analytics, digital strategy, and tech development. Jan is someone who has certainly thought a lot about how to build a workplace for diverse teams as he manages multiple projects at all times.
Somehow we survived. But I really believe that culture was the one that made us do all these things right? So we talk about what are the values that we want every team member to come through the door? What are the main hiring requirements that we look at? Apart from, again, the tangible, the tactical skills that we have, what the person needs to carry, what constitutes a person of open minds. We call them OMsters, O-M-sters, like hamsters, but no. But what defines an OMster? When you walk into the office, what's going to happen? How's the environment like? So we actually put down all of these things. Naturally, we couldn't get all of these things off the bat from the very beginning. But this was implemented in phases because we're always drawing back from that alignment conversations. That led us to having not 100% remote, although right now we are because of the pandemic, but we actually had a compromise because we decided that 100% remote culture in Asia, it's very, very new. 100% remote is like a huge, like, whoa, what's this? Are you really working?
So what did you do?
So we had 3 in-office, 2 out-of-office days. That was like already beating the norm to begin with. Not only that, we shortened the working hours. Instead from the usual 9 to 5 or 8:30 to 5, here we do 11 to 6, which is typically shorter, And it starts later in the day because we realize that in this generation, a lot of us don't like waking up early, founders included. So we design it in a way where it also suit the lifestyle of this generation. We started introducing what we call the Open Minds perks, where typically it came from a short discussion saying that, hey, how nice if the company actually pays for my lifestyle. And that's actually what we turn it into fruition. So we started off with just 4 items. Right now, we're actually paying for 23 items of your life, where we pay for your tech, we pay for you having a meal with your family, we pay because you're having a birthday, we pay for your newborn child, we pay that because you're getting married, you're paid because you are buying your first property, your car service, your phone bills, your medical bills.
Wait, what? Seriously?
We realized that, hey, it's these things that actually made an environment where people that can come in openly and trust that the company is not here to rip them off. That's the underlying line, that we want them to come in. There's a safe environment that can be open, they can share, they can also give their best. Because these other things, don't worry, that's why the company is there.
Do you have people who disagree with you? That's a lot to consider about the workplace.
Yes, along the way, there are still naysayers. There are still people coming up to us and say that we are unfair and things like that. But that's just part of the journey. With keeping the focus that I mentioned to you about, that actually helped us solidify the position of Open Minds, and hopefully for many, many more years to come.
The office is not just the physical location. It's how we feel about the space and what that means for us. So should we not have the office at all? I mean, we'll certainly dive into how we build the culture of such a workplace, but what about the physical office location?
But I think now industry is having a reckoning with adapting and being nimble to how other people work. Everyone's like, oh, the office is dead. And no, that's not the case. But what is in full force is businesses have to tend to their people, their mental health, so they can excel in whatever their task, their job, their position is. I think that's the reckoning that COVID has caused, which was probably needed anyway.
Meet my friend Kia Witherspoon, president and founder of Determined by Design, a company that specializes in the creation of beautiful, functional, and stimulating interior design that is equitable for all. As the design equity advocate, she learned early on in her journey how much physical space matters.
I grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia, and I did not realize my space or space matters. I didn't realize it in the home I grew up in. I realized it after I started visiting my brother who was incarcerated for 15 years in prisons. I remember going in and out of that space thinking this was so undignified. It was disheartening. It was oppressive. And that would just sit with me. And then fast forward a couple of years, I joined the military and I was a deployment after 9/11 in the Middle East. And I'm in a tent and I needed some privacy and I didn't have it. So I took some sheets and I hung it from the top of the tent and I made 3 sheet walls. And that was the first space I ever created. And that space made me bawl like a baby for 15 minutes. And it was something about how it healed me, brought me comfort, brought me solace. And then after that, I was like, man, I want to do this thing where I create spaces for people. And I became an interior designer.
Tell me more.
And this is where everyone will go like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I'm like, no, I just said I had to go to prison and war to realize interior spaces and environments matter. Why did it meet me at my home when I was growing up as a kid? So for me, it was kind of like, well, how is space affecting other people from low-income communities? And why isn't someone saying elevated, thoughtful, intentional, beautiful, soft design needs to meet all people exactly where they're at in their community? So that's what I advocate for every day as a design advocate in my business.
Kia's journey inspired me. Indeed. Space matters in every aspect, and if the office is one of the places we spend a lot of time, how can we use this to transition time as an opportunity to think about what the true purpose of an office place means? A place where people come to work, or a place where people feel joy while working? The small nuance matters. And Andrew agrees.
And coming back to the whole idea of co-working, so one of the things that we've seen now is that a lot of companies are shedding their overhead. We have had multiple companies now, corporations, who are rethinking their real estate strategy. And so what does that mean? Suddenly, co-working spaces become more of a value add to them, especially when it's not just about the space.
Meet my friend Andrew Ngoy, the Director of Innovation and Startups at the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, and someone who has been thinking a lot about office space. Whether it's his current co-working space at Peoria for local business owners or his former community space at MIT running innovation boot camps across 5 continents, he realized the secret to the power of space is not just the physical space. Tell us more. What matters?
At the heart of it, anybody can rent space, but what kind of community, what kind of culture, what kind of values, what kind of vision do you hope to achieve in bringing these diverse groups of people together? And so who uses co-working spaces? We have remote professionals, we have software engineers, we have developers, we have videographers, we have graphic designers. We even have people who have small studios. We also have, healthcare people as well running a sleep clinic. Well, not so much sleep clinic, but the ability to run home sleep tests, right? And, just hearing from their purpose and like, hey, truckers have sleep problems. And if they go for a sleep test and they fail that test, their license gets revoked.
A physical space, as Andrew shares, when well-designed, can be a place where we connect, be inspired, and learn something new that we may never come across. This is why simply stating what your physical environment will be is too short-sighted as we redesign where our office is. We must ask what our office experience will be and how that would matter. So I urge us again to reflect. As we think about our new working at the office reality, how can we think about not just 6 months away from now, but what the implications will be 6 years and 10 years from now? Imagine where your policy and direction will meet and how you find, hire, and nurture talent, how your teams feel connected and loyal to your brand, how it makes you feel, and what this would mean by having anyone being able to work from anywhere. You'd want to think about how a care package you received is no longer an office perk, but rather a symbol of flexibility and a box of electronic goodies that makes a home office upgrade even easier. One thing should be clear though, don't just go with the flow. And don't just assume what you think it should be. Ask your people, listen to them, and think about the long-term implications. The changes you make today about where your office is can mean growth or stagnation in your company's future. Curious to really hear your thoughts because as next week, I want to dive deeper into how we define success. Being a unicorn startup or a scalable business, is that truly the only way? We'll find out more next week.
Hi, I'm Monica Escobar, the visual brand designer at Innovators Box, and I hope you're enjoying Dear Workplace. I'm passionate about design, and I get to dive deep into my creativity while designing for Innovators Box. This show is brought together by our awesome team: producers Saren Oh, audio engineers Sam Limmer and Ravi Ladd, Kelly Gravo on marketing, website designer Akriti Pandey, myself as graphic designer, and Luke Helder on music. And of course, Dear Workplace is hosted and directed by Monica Kang, founder and CEO of Innovators Box. To continue the conversation of reimagining the workplace, visit us at innovatorsbox.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share. We'd love to hear what you enjoy and what I can convince Monica to talk about in our next episodes. See you next week.
Thanks again for joining us today. This is Monica Kang, your host at Dear Workplace. I'll see you next week.